is going on, guys? It's Noah here with Custom RC Mods. Welcome back to a new video. In today's episode, we are building the FT Explorer. Now, I actually built this plane last summer. None of the videos I made with it actually made it up to YouTube. However, there is a good amount of content on Instagram about it, so if you guys follow me on there, you know about that. So yeah, I do still have the same exact 3-channel wing, which is still in relatively good condition. It is a little messed up, but for this beginner series, I think that this is going to be a great option for you guys. And as you guys know, I did do the first 2 episodes of this beginner series on the FT Simple Cub. You can see hanging back there on the pegboard, and I was a little bit underimpressed by the maiden of it. Although I was in wind, I just think that it wasn't my preferred option. If I was learning to fly, that would not be probably the best way to go. And I think that revising my decision to go back for this FT Explorer is a good move, first for a few reasons. First off, it's a wide, nice, stable plane. You can see it has polyhedral on this wing right here. This is actually the same exact wing as the FT Simple Soarer, minus this little special cutout for the motor pod. But I really like this wing on the FT Simple Soarer as well as on the FT Explorer, just because it's high lift, it's not very fast, and it also is really, really stable in the air. And the FT Explorer also brings a lot of good things to the table in terms of the fuselage. Of course, it is a pusher, meaning that you're not going to be able to break props, and with that boom under the prop, unless you like come in upside down flying and hit the ground like that, I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty much impossible to break a prop on this plane. So I'm really happy about that, especially from the beginner standpoint. It's important that you still don't break props, or at least try your best. And this is going to be a thing where you can still crash this. You might have to rebuild the nose a few times, but you're thankfully not going to have to go through props as much as you would on something like the Mustang or the Simple Cub that's like a tractor style. So this is a pusher, and that gives it a few more solid tendencies, no thrust angle issues. It might still have a little bit of torque, but there's really going to be a lot of good tendencies about this, and it's a basic 3-channel, long, big, soaring airplane that's not going to be very touchy. It's going to fly really well, nice glide ratio, and feel very solid in the air. So yeah, let's go ahead and just jump right into the build. For this, I'll obviously have my wing. This is 2 sheets of foam right here to complete this wing. But the actual sheet of foam that I have right here today is going to be used to build the Explorer core, as well as the tail boom and the tail assembly as well. So I'm really excited to get that build underway. It should take me under 2 hours total to get from the foam to the individual pieces all put together into the FT Explorer. I printed out the necessary tiles I need for this plan to be complete, and of course for my electronics, the power plant in this system will be my standard A2212 and Hobby Power setup right here. This is actually surprisingly a very, very good pairing with this plane right here. Just enough power to get this thing up into the air, but it's not going to be full vertical or anything like that. I feel like there is plenty of power to do pretty fast passes as well, so I am a big fan of this combo right here, and I think this application is where it really shines. Of course, we got the standard SG90s that I use on all my builds for the most part, as well as an AR6210 receiver and a standard 1300 milliamp hour Tattoo battery. So yeah, that pretty much rounds it out for my electronics. It's now time to get into the build. If you guys want to see what the scratch building process is like, go ahead and check out episodes 1 and 2 with the FT Simple Cub. It's basically the same exact process right here, just different parts, of course, for this different plane. So I'm going to go ahead and throw you guys up to the GoPro above on the time lapse, and let's get to building. Alright guys, so as you can see, we've got the FT Explorer completely done, and I'm really happy with how this plane turned out, although it did take a little bit longer than expected. It took about 4 hours total, but it was a very intricate build with this FT Explorer core that has many different little internal pieces that give it some strength. So I'm really happy to put in the extra time knowing that I'm going to get a quality aircraft out of this. But let's go ahead and go through some of my design critiques from flight tests. I've built this plane before, obviously, and I've also crashed it many times. You guys would know that if you guys follow me on Instagram at CustomRCModsOfficial. Last summer I did a few posts. You guys saw the tail boom was actually cut in half multiple times just from the G's of hitting the ground, and that's kind of unfortunate, but I did show how I repaired that, and I will be doing another video if this does break, if I crash it. However, obviously I'm not intending to crash it. It's a pretty easy plane to fly. But this nose is also only a sheet of foam thick, so it's a little bit harder to keep these things nice and durable. I would recommend getting some doublers or some paint sticks or something like that just to make sure your nose doesn't explode on you the first time you crash, because these are not easy to put back together, not just like a quick easy fold and fix. This actually, you have to mold the foam around the front, and it takes a little bit longer than I would like to spend repairing this, as well as the deck under here that mounts to your battery is a little bit inconvenient because it crumples in with the nose's explosion. Anyway, on to my next critique is the servo placement right here. They actually tell you to place the servos right up towards the front of this control, of this tail boom right here, but I actually had to go ahead and mount my servo right on this horizontal stabilizer, and it's really hard to find some control rods that are long enough, and I feel like Flight Test is the only people that actually sells those, so unless you have control rods that are long enough for their, if you're using them out of common materials, like I often use paper clips or things like that I have laying around at home to build my control rods out of. It's going to be a really tough spot for you. For this one, I actually mounted my elevator servo right up in the front of the tail boom just for CG purposes, because as you can see, I actually did have to counteract my rudder servo placement with all this weight up here in the nose, which is inconvenient, and it makes a lot heavier of an airplane altogether, reducing your glide slope, and it's just not ideal in the long run. Anyway, I think that could be made a lot better, just kind of with the design, making a longer nose or something like that. But that is pretty much how it is. It's just going to be a little bit harder to scratch build if you're a beginner. You might have to get creative on what you use for your control rods. However, I think this is an excellent beginner plane, and that's why I include it in my scratch build beginner series for episode 3. This is a lot more like a sailplane or a soarer. You know, a lot more guest-free to fly compared to like the simple Cub like we did in the last video. So I definitely would recommend this if you guys are completely new to the hobby and you're not having any mentors. Like for me, my first flight I had a buddy box, and it was a lot easier to learn like that, and that's where something like having the FT Simple Cub would let you progress a lot quicker. However, this is a really solid option if you're learning to fly on your own, so I definitely recommend the FT Explorer, and I really like how durable it is in some areas. Obviously, we went over the areas where I think this is compromised a little bit. However, the core itself is really strong. In some places, there's 3 layers of foam, like back here by the power pod, and also I really like how this is a pusher, and you can see it's pretty much impossible to break a prop, like I said at the beginning of this video. And another thing that you always want to look for as a beginner is to have the rubber band on wings, and the FT Cub did have that option, but that's going to make it so your wings can flex and it doesn't completely total the airframe when you have a nice crash into the ground. So other than that, that's pretty much my entire talk on this airplane right here. I really like it. I'm going to be doing a maiden video, of course, just like my other planes, and I'll give you my thoughts about this plane and how it's set up. But as you can see, let's go through some control testing right here. I have a lot of throws on here, and you can see kind of right there, there's a barbecue skewer sticking right out that I used for this. And then we've got the rudder right here, as well as my power. And there is plenty of power provided by this A2212 motor with the 9x47 slow fly. So if you guys are wondering if this $15 motor and ESC combo is worth it, it's going to be a great match, especially if you're building this plane. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this FT Explorer. If you're wondering about how to get into this RC hobby and you are going to be going into scratch building, definitely check out the first 2 episodes of this series where we're going to be going more in depth about the entire process of how to get your plane built and set up so you'll have a successful first flight. Anyway, that's all I have for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. That's my build and initial thoughts on the FT Explorer. And thank you guys for watching. Comment any questions you might have down below. I'll catch you guys in the next video.